Well, hello, you all. I'm sorry I didn't get to my video yesterday. I was not moving the fastest, so I'm getting to it today. I just talked about 5 minutes and realized the camera wasn't on. Imagine. So, today it's more of a quieter day, believe it or not. We're getting settled. I'm back in school. We ordered Winona school books. She's in 7th grade this year. So it's a different process for her this year. We, with both our kids, with Patrick also, we accredited him through this school. And the school would send the books and the CDs and he would follow along, learn from, take the classes. Then we would send it to the school and they grade it and everything. And then when it's time to graduate, he has met their requirements and get the diploma. So that'll be the same thing with Winona. Very proud of her. She's our practical one and she's our entrepreneur. She will do anything you ask to make money. If it means scrub the floor, she'll do it. Work to get money, cut your grass, she'll do it. She'll be a good businesswoman. But we went to this school and they teach the same curriculum, but we were looking for something. She wanted to go to a school, and we thought, okay, it's a Christian school. We'll look at it. Well, we were told about the prices, but we were kind of hoping it really wasn't as bad as it sounded, but it was. We walked in and they started doing a breakdown of all the numbers, and we didn't have anything. I mean, that just like shut her down. No, she was not going for it. And it made us feel good because I couldn't see with her and my wife being teachers, teaching the same curriculum and paying that amount for a year that would cost 3 years, same curriculum, only if she did it at home. So it was almost to $7,000 for the year. $7,000 would get her to 12th grade with us teaching her, making sure she's learning it here at home, and just joining in a homeschool group where they do activities and tours and join volleyball somewhere and be better off. So once she's seen those numbers, it was an automatic nope. So we didn't have to worry about it after that. So that is the game plan for her. So now we're just getting ready for all that. And I guess the story I'm going to tell you about today is about when we were in Louisiana, our first Christmas there. Now, our first Christmas in Louisiana was, my son was just about 15 months old. And it was it was starting to open up a little bit more. And we were actually now staying downtown in the Hilton, which is right there along the Mississippi River. Beautiful, you get to see everything. And it was so beautiful with Christmas lights and everything. And we had a Christmas party, and we went from this Christmas party. It was cold out, but we still went. We went to I guess you can call it like a Christmas festival, but they had a gator that was pulling a sled, a fake one, of course, but it was so neat seeing that. And they had a Christmas tree there. It said something about New Orleans. I can't quite remember when pigs fly. And it showed a Christmas tree with pigs flying on it. So it was quite neat. It was people poking fun and enjoying the Christmas holiday, even though a lot of people weren't back yet and a lot of people didn't have places to go to or anything like that. And it was a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere from what started and where we were at that point. Mind you, we were nowhere near where we had to be. But by the following Christmas, it was a lot better. But that's not the point. The point is the Christmas. It was a very, very nice Christmas. Then that was like the week before Christmas. We drove back home for Christmas to Missouri, because I have a golden rule that Christmas is celebrated at home. Now, we broke that rule twice, and we celebrated it twice at my son's house, and never again. It's just not right. A child should wake up in their own bed to celebrate Christmas. I know it's the Lord's birthday. A child should be at home to celebrate the Lord's birthday. At least that's my opinion and our rules. So that's what we do for our family. Well, anyhow, I don't care if you go out after lunch or do whatever, and visit whoever. But for us, waking up in your own bed Christmas morning is the way it is. So, anyhow, we went home for Christmas, and then I came back after the New Year back to New Orleans. And let me tell you, this is when the fun really began. Because, all right, so now we're done with recovery of people that were killed, and rubble was pretty much starting to be cleared out completely, and we were starting to rebuild. And there was a lot of heated town hall meetings for sure. I remember this one lady standing there at a town hall meeting. She lived in the 9th Ward, and she told this lady, she said, I didn't have much before this storm, and I don't expect a lot, but I do expect to have a bathroom to go to the bathroom in. And she looked straight at that lady and said, we put your father in office, we put your brother in office, and you better bring it to the table or we'll put someone else that will. I thought, wow. How? And she turned around and walked out. I thought, now that, if that's not a mandate, I don't know what is. So they were all starting to try to rebuild, and more electricity was coming back to more areas, and same way with the water and the gas, and things were starting to come together. But I remember we were supposed to get this storm. Everyone was worried about this storm. schools have started back. Some of the charter schools and things were up and running. And we had most of my office, we were not from New Orleans, but we were told, there are places that just naturally flood there in Louisiana. And it's just, under the underpasses and stuff. Well, anyhow, we worked in City Hall. Well, we were told that if there's some flooding, don't worry about it. Unless it's like a major flooding happening, then get a hold of us. Fine. Right there beside City Hall, water came gushing out of the manhole cover, pulling that thing up in the air. And I remember I called Mr. Higginbotham and I said we have an issue, we have some flooding. And he's like, is it bad? I'm like, well, the manhole cover is about up past the first floor for sure. He said, I'll be right there. I mean, these are just little things that we were dealing with at the time. And they sound little now, but back then they weren't. And then these representatives, I'm telling you, through this all, you got to remember, these people are trying to bring utilities, trying to bring things back to life. And really, they don't have any homes yet. And most of them are still living on the cruise ships. So they're always together. They see each other every day. On a normal situation, the electrical supervisor, CEO, or whatever you call them, would not be meeting the water director every morning as soon as they get up. I mean, they might never see each other, maybe once a year, if that, But now, all these people are becoming dear friends. And my, oh my, oh my. Him and Mrs. French kind of like, they worked well together, but they had that type of relationship. Well, she was at school and it started flooding and it was in the basement. And she demanded to get a hold of Mr. Higginbotham on the emergency radio system that they all did. And she said, we're flooding. The basement is flooding. And he said, well, we'll get to it when we can. And she's like, you have to do something now. We have kids in the basement. And true to Mr. Higginbotham, he said, well, get them out of the basement. And I could just see the fire coming out of her head, I could just see her like wanting to rip his throat out right out of that radio. And so they spouted a few minutes and then he won. She got him out of the basement. And of course, it wasn't as bad. The flooding stopped and everything went rolling along. And it wasn't a bad storm. It was a bad storm, but this was a chance to see how well the structure was get a hold up with the storm. And then we were dealing with people that weren't quite following the guidelines. You must give it to New Orleans for some of the things that they did. They had policies and procedures, and they did quite well at trying to follow these procedures. But you got to remember, when you have a catastrophe like that, it's kind of hard to follow procedures that you have set up just for emergencies, not catastrophes. So one of them was, if something happened to the house, you inspected the house. And if it was like over 70%, you could either, if it was below 70%, it had to be fixed. But if it was more than 70%, then you had the choice of either bringing it back up to standards and keeping it, or getting rid of it. But now you still had to apply for permits, normal way, and that was causing lots of issues. And so what happened is some of these people just did not follow. For example, there was brought up in the meeting about this one elderly lady was living in her house. It was full of mold, and they wanted her to leave. And the lady was 85 years old. And they wanted Mrs. French to tell her, you know, hey, we need you to leave this home, because she knew Mrs. French. But Mrs. French, I'll tell you, I love that lady. She stood up and she said, have you ever tried to tell an 85-year-old lady to leave her house? And I thought, now that I'm getting older and I see things, and I'm like, I could see where that lady was coming from. But there was one thing. Another thing is elderly people coming back to the city. My goodness, they said for them not to come back right away because they didn't have the health care system to take care of them. It would be an overload. They didn't pay attention. They came back. I had to give a preparedness class. They started giving them classes all over, you know, be prepared for this and that. And I was in Lakeview, and I was given a preparedness class, but I was kind of a little bit scared because it was a group of community members. This was a tight-knit group. You had the older people and you had the younger people that have moved into the neighborhood within the last 10 years. And then you have the older part where these people have been there for ages. And the lady that was running it was in her 70s for sure. And the person before me, I mean, they just tore into that poor soul. And I thought, oh, and I'm from the city, and people were not happy with the city because it was taking so long to get things done. Well, I got up there and I was nervous. I wasn't sure. And I said to that lady before I got up there to speak, I said, are you sure I should go up? I said, maybe I can reschedule and come back. She says, no, honey, you need to give your speech. She said, listen, she said, us older generation, she said, most of us are back in our homes. She said, me and my husband were older. And they were in their 70s, mind you, close. If not, they were in their 70s. And she said, we gutted and redid our home. She said, was it hard? Yes. She said, we had a really beautiful designer sink in the kitchen. She said, we don't have that now. We just have a regular kitchen sink. And she said, you're thankful for it. And she said, if you think a major catastrophe like this happened and prices are not going to go up, then you're wrong. She says, we've been here. We all know this drill. She said, we know that you have to come in, get it going. You can't wait for the handouts. You can't wait for the city to come in. And She said, remember that as you get up there and speak. She said, they're going to be angry. She said, they lost everything. She said, but they got to learn that you're thankful for what you do have. And I thought, wow, that lady it just stunned me. I thought, wow, how true. And you know, we still do that today. And we see it more. We see more catastrophes today. And you know, it's like, it's almost, you know, you never really heard about the Northeast, a lot of storms and things, but you see it all the time now. And we just have to learn to be thankful for what we have. And I never forgot that speech. Mind you what, that was in 2006. And this is what, 20 years later? And I'll never forget the meaning of that speech. So, but that's the way it was in Louisiana. And I'll tell you more about my time in Louisiana in our next video. So, till next week, have a good week. Bye.